Medication for constipation. Now that you've eaten these unhealthy foods, you've not fasted, your gut is messed up, you've eaten the inflammatory foods, you've taken the antacids, the antidepressants your own, and now you've reached a point where now you have constipation. Okay? Now you're at a place where you have now constipation, the real constipation. What do? We give you medication temporarily to help you fix this symptom. Underline, fix this symptom. So we help you fix this symptom as we try to fix the cause, which is the kitchen. Now realize this, that even your syllabus says this, that this medication relieves symptoms, but they don't cure the cause. Long-term use of laxatives can cause dependence. Hey, let's go back and listen keenly. This laxatives that you're using, these drugs for constipation that you're using, are not intentionally here to fix the gut problem. Why? Because 90% of them focus on the stool, on the hard stool, and how to make it soft so that it gets out. But they don't focus on the gut motility, on the movement of the gut. They don't focus on the motility. They focus on the stool. So they're not fixing any problem. They're just masking the symptoms, and then they will help you in a short period of time so that you fix your kitchen. The earlier you do it, the better. Okay? So they work on the stool and they don't work on the motility of the gut. Good. So number one, basically drugs for constipation are called laxatives or purgatives. Now when you say laxatives, it's a softer way. When you say purgatives, they are these that are very potent, that can actually evacuate your bowel so fast, and they can actually rupture your bowel. Okay, so so you must be careful with this. But let me take you through this. So laxatives are classified into different groups. This for the pharmacists and all that. One is the bulk forming laxatives. From the word bulk forming, so they actually make your stool bigger. They bulk your stool. When they do that, they stimulate the gut motility, and now the rectum starts to flow. And now you can ease up the flow. That is one. That's the bulk forming. So they actually cause water to come into the stool. And when they're causing water to come into the stool, they are bulking the stool. And you see, as water is coming into the stool to bulk the stool, you're getting dehydrated. And therefore, hello? So we are pulling water from the gut into the stool to make it bulk and soft. But what are we causing in long run? Dehydration. And what is dehydration going to cause us later? Let me sip my water. The problem is me. So as you take that laxative to fix the symptoms of constipation, of course, the end result will end up being constipation. Would you want that? Would you want a kidney problem later on? I guess not. So why don't you fix the gut? Number two, so examples of these bulk forming laxatives. Number one is isfagula, the husk, which you people call fibogel. Number two is methyl cellulose. And I think you know these drugs. But let me just read the contraindications so that you can actually understand it, okay? So as you're causing dehydration, these drugs are quite unsafe in people who have kidney disease and people who have heart failure and people who have fluid retention. So if you're swelling those legs, you have a kidney problem and you have a heart problem, dehydration can actually destroy you. Therefore, you cannot prefer bulk forming laxatives. But these drugs, what interests me is they say they are safe in the elderly. But these conditions are conditions for those people who are already elderly. So are they even safe in the elderly? My opinion is no. Therefore, fix the kitchen. Alafu, they are dangerous in heart failure and in people who have just had surgeries. What is the best time to eat fermented cabbages? Use fermented cabbage plus an avocado to break a fast just before a meal. Okay, 10 minutes to your meal. Good. So that is bulk forming laxatives. Number two, we have the osmotic laxatives. From the word osmotic, they actually alter the osmotic, the gradient, the difference in osmotic pressures. So this is what is happening. One, they keep water into the lumen. Now, this is interesting because, again, this one can cause you another dehydration because they keep water into the lumen. Now, some of them are rich in fiber, so this fiber attracts water again. And when it attracts water, there's bulking, there's softening of the stool. But contrary to that, we are going to get dehydration again. But listen, examples of these osmotic laxatives is the famous one that is called lactulose. It is non-absorbable. So it makes sure that water is retained in the rectum and there's moisturization, and now you can actually evacuate the stool. So lactulose is here. We have another one that is magnesium hydroxide. Hello, magnesium hydroxide. So remember, magnesium salts cause diarrhea. Any magnesium salt can cause diarrhea, okay? But calcium salts cause constipation. So you eat calcium supplements, you get constipation. You eat magnesium supplements, you end up getting diarrhea. So you see, it's opposite. That's why we have magnesium hydroxide as a laxative that is osmotic laxative. However, listen to this. Magnesium hydroxide is one of the components of antacids. Some antacids have magnesium hydroxide, others have magnesium trisilicate. So this is an antacid. So when you use magnesium hydroxide as a laxative, you will end up neutralizing the stomach pH. What is going to happen? What did we say is the cause of constipation in terms of the pH of the stomach? Neutralization. And that's why antacids cause constipation, because they neutralize stomach pH, and now you are unable to digest food, the protein, therefore constipation. And now you're using magnesium hydroxide as a medication for constipation, yet the cause of constipation was the same salts that neutralize stomach acid. So are we solving anything? We are working one step ahead and then 3 back. That's why these are supposed to be used as short-term therapies to manage the symptoms as you fix the causes. Okay? And then, of course, glycol is here and glycerin is also here. Okay? Also, there's this one that is actually used when you're doing a colonoscopy. They want to empty the bowel so that they can actually perform a procedure on your gut, which is called the PEG, the PEG. Most of you know it, right? Who have gone through these procedures. PEG. Now, the next laxative is called the stool or fecal softeners. From the word fecal softeners or stool softeners, they just soften the stool and then they ease up on releasing it. One of it is called Dulcocet. And they say these ones are very good in post-surgical patients, those who have hemorrhoids, and women who have just given birth. So at least these can be used in those people. So you soften the stools in women who have given birth, in people who have had the surgeries, and people who have hemorrhoids, so that we can actually ease up their flow. So these ones are a little better, right? Because they soften the stool. Now, the last one is the stimulant laxative. From the word stimulant, they stimulate the nerves that actually innervate the rectum. That can be a problem. And these ones are the ones that actually cause a high risk of dependence and addiction. Shikogotti tried. Senna is part of the stimulant laxatives. So you take it, it stimulates the nerves, and then now the reflexes are there, and now the bowel movements, and boom, your stool is out. But imagine if you stimulate those nerves and you have constipation. So the stool is hard already, and now you're stimulating the bowel movements, and the reflex is so high, and now you're pumping out the stool. You might end up rupturing most of the cells and most of the nerves also aligning the rectum. And because of that stimulation of these nerves, you give your child this, the Senna, the Bisacodyl, you know it? You give them these, they stimulate the nerves all the time. And then these nerves get used to that stimulation. Therefore, now every time you have to stimulate them again. You have to stimulate them all the time, all the time. So now the gut walls and the rectum muscles and the nerves get used to this. And now you have to give a purgative for them to have a normal bowel flow. And that's why they say do not use them, do not abuse them or overuse them, because you'll end up getting into dependence, and that is criminal. That is criminal. Therefore, before you give a laxative, fix the gut. And if you fix the gut, of course, you'll never find a reason to take any laxative. That is one. Number two, before you give a laxative, make sure that you have cleared the fact that the gut is not obstructed. Make sure that the gut is not obstructed. Make sure that you've done all the tests, doctors, to know that the bowels are not even narrowing. They're not constricting. Make sure that there's no obstruction, so that when you give this, you don't regret, because you might end up killing somebody by just giving them laxatives. And that's why selling laxatives over the counter is criminal, because you've seen there are people who have heart diseases and you don't even know it. You have people who have kidney problems. Nowadays, we have diabetes all over. So people have diabetes and have kidney problems as a complication of diabetes, and you end up giving them the laxatives. And now you end up dehydrating them, causing them more problems, heart attacks and kidney failures. Now they have to pay for 4 sessions every week for dialysis. Now they have to find a match and pay about 1.5 million for a transplant that will not even work, because there will be complications for that transplant. So please, even though you are out here to sell medication, we know you are supposed to dispense medication. Pharmacists and pharmaceutical technologists, businessmen who have hired licenses from pharmacists to carry out business that are related to medication and medicine sell. Do not sell these drugs. Hire people who are actually sane. Hire people who are licensed. Hire people who understand the basics of this, so that when they dispense these drugs, I understand there is that business aspect of it and you have to survive, you have to pay bills. However, the main reason why these courses are done, the main reason why I know you started that pharmacy was not to become rich. It was to change the life of that person who is coming to that pharmacy. Not to bring them back, not to put more healthcare cost on them, not to put them more in the hospital beds. No, your intention to start that pharmacy, of course I know 80% of the intention is about the money. But your intention is supposed to be humanity. And then the reward that comes with that humanity aspect of you is tremendous. The satisfaction that comes with you changing a life of that person who is unable to afford the dialysis sessions. At least maybe you are selling drugs and you can afford that dialysis session. There's somebody who cannot afford that. Okay? Therefore, let's be lenient with them. I understand people like politicians will come to the pharmacy and they want the most expensive drugs. And they are so arrogant, they want it when they want it. At least that one you can wash your hands and say, oh, this one pushed me into this. But that innocent person who is coming in for medical advice, I really wonder why you can actually write and renew prescriptions for people who have diabetes. You even supply drugs to them. You even know them by names. You call them to tell them, hey, your drugs are here. And you've never bothered to explain to them that diabetes is actually reversible. Is it that you don't know? Or is it that you just want them as slaves? Answer us. Is it that pharmaceutics and pharmaceutical pharmacists don't know this, or is it that just the interest of money just came in and overtook everything? When did we become so inhuman? So before you give that laxative, make sure there's no obstruction. Make sure there was no surgery that was done. Appendicitis, IBS, diverticulous. Make sure there was no surgery that was done for gastric bypass. Okay, and then look at the age, because as people age, osmotic laxatives cannot be given because they'll cause imbalance in electrolytes, and you cannot imbalance electrolytes in an elderly person. They will give them heart disease. They will die of a heart attack. And then even in the pregnant, make sure that you have to give out a laxative for the shortest period of time, because I know pregnant women also eat a lot of unhealthy foods. They end up coming with these problems. So yes, be lenient, because health is universal. Anything that you're doing wherever you are is going to be done to your children in the village, to your parents in the village. So health is universal. As you think that you're doing this for my parent, I am doing the same to your parent somewhere. I'm doing the same to your relative. And this same relative will ask you for help in terms of money so that they can actually fix their health bills. So as you perform these things to these people, as you dispense these drugs, even as you sell those drugs, always have a human heart. Remember, we have an oath, and that oath has 4 principles. And all these 4 principles are for the benefit of the patient, not for the benefit of the practitioner.